Thank you very much, Patrick, and thank you everybody for your time today. And again, it's an exciting time to be at Yamaha, and we're really pleased with the 2.0 firmware update that we've just released. Really adds a tremendous increase in the feature set and capability within the system itself, and shows the vision Yamaha's had in the expandability of the system and the future proofing and scalability that you will see as you own one of these systems. So with that, we will be kind of going over some review of the system as well as looking at the updates. But first of all, I always like to start here. This is our $100 million Innovation Center. This is a 3-building facility on our main campus in Hamamatsu. And I got the privilege to go here in 2019. And the reason I start with this is Yamaha wanted to put all of their audio engineers under one roof, once and for all, to share technology and increase automation and products in many verticals. And the ADECIA system was born out of that collaboration. The DSP engineers, the speaker designers, the home theater engineers, the live mixing board guys, all sharing technology. This is the world's largest anechoic chamber. I always struggle with that word. Inside that facility really blew me away. And for those that don't know me, I've spent almost 20 years in this space, worked with other manufacturers and DSP companies. This room is 46 feet high, 30 feet across, and 43 feet deep. Just a massive anti-echo chamber. We're leveraging technology from the Ravage mixing guys as well. A lot of legacy technology in some of these products. You know, Yamaha leads the way with the specialty audio processing chips. We lead the way in AI and audio processing. We really are a world leader. Now, we've kind of flown under the radar a little bit in the UC space in America, but I think with the advent of ADECIA over the last couple of years, that sure has changed. This is one of our speaker labs, had a fun day in there. So with the tour over of our headquarters, these are the technologies that are under the hood in this product, and not just ADECIA. A lot of our other products feature all of these feature sets, these technologies as well. So when you look around the clock here, some of these should be familiar to you, right? What's the number one you got to have for every single microphone is its own echo canceller channel. Our adaptive AEC, I would put up against anybody's. Automatic gain control. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to do a little demo from the space I'm in. And by the way, I'm speaking to you now on a ceiling microphone. I could have had a tabletop mic for this, much closer to me, but I wanted to demonstrate the ceiling mic live during this presentation. And I'll show you how we can compensate for people that speak very, very softly in a meeting. Automatic room EQ. This is a level, and you'll hear this word from me a couple of times, automation. The level of automation we're bringing into this space just hasn't been seen before. Now, these two are unique to Yamaha, human voice activity detection. We can literally pick out speech patterns from background sounds within the human speech range. This helps with our steady state noise reduction. This is how our beam tracking works, by locating humans and then putting a very fixed focus beam on them from our dynamic multi-beam tracking microphone. And active dereverberation. Not a lot of our competitors put this technology in their UC products. We do. So these are a look at some of the advanced technologies under the hood of ADECIA. And then these are the new 2.0 features we're going to focus on today. We have seriously increased the microphone count. We used to be able to support 4 of these ceiling mics. Now we can support 14 within our controller, and we'll go over that a little bit more. We've added exclusion and focus areas within the footprint of the mic itself. Very cool new feature. And as always, we can adjust the parameter of the footprint as well. And I'll show you that in the software. These two here are huge. These are 2 of the new huge advancements of this system. One are these 10 system presets, and we're going to go over that in the software. We can very elegantly and quickly set up route changes, configuration changes for combine and divide spaces and multi-use rooms. The way we do this allows your programmers of the control system to have a very easy time of it, and I'll go over that. This is another great feature now. Our TT, tabletop, and CG ceiling grid mics can now support low latency, non-processed linear output for voice lift applications, simultaneously with outputting the traditional programmed, the fully processed signal on channel 1. So we now have 2 Dante channels out, one fully processed, and simultaneously you can run a second one linear for voice lift applications. So again, these are really big feature increases we've added. And we'll look at prioritizing in a mic. You can pick any mic in the system and add weight to that, make it a teacher mic or a presenter mic, or add priority for that microphone. We've increased our security with 802.1x support. This is a fully enterprise class solution. We support DHCP upgrades, SNMP management of the system. And for a lot of people using like Symmetrics DSPs, AES 67 has really helped them out. They don't have to pay that Dante licensing. So, and the new thing for me, which has really been fun as an engineer, is to see how Yamaha has now improved the tuning of the system automatically, that automation, these algorithms. Previous to 2.0, we used to tune the room for speaker playback of the far end audio. Now we're EQing the microphones in that system as well, and we'll take a look at that. So this is what we're going to be covering mostly, are these new feature sets, but we will, like I said, take a look at the whole system. Now, this is a slide I did in a webinar, I think, almost a decade ago. And I wanted to start with this because this is a traditional system. And when you see the architecture of our system, you'll see how it really is a revolutionary change to what's traditionally been done in these conference rooms. And again, this could be a system from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or 2 years ago. And some integrators, this is still what they're doing, basically. So what you used to have at the heart of your system was what we call the DSP, your digital signal processor. This does all the echo cancellation, which is required for far-end conferencing, all the routing and mixing and management of all the inputs and outputs of the system. Now, we used to connect to that via analog, wireless microphone systems. Here's the transceiver and the wireless mics, wired mics. Maybe we'd bring in some content from a Blu-ray player in there as well. We'd have an amplifier and speakers for the room. And then it went out over a phone line and we had a dialer. That's just how we did conferencing. Now, fast forward a few years, we dropped the phone line and the dialer, but these basic components have stayed the same. Now we have a USB connection or a line in and out to a codec, and now we're doing Teams and Zoom calls, exactly what we're doing today. So that's a traditional system. Now keep this slide in mind when we look at the architecture of ours, which we'll get to. So really, automation is the key here. The premise of this system is the folks that are installing and mounting the speakers, mounting the microphone, once they plug everything into the switch, this is 100% an Ethernet powered solution. They are literally a few mouse clicks from having world-class audio and having the first meeting in that room, and they can get on to setting up the next room. The concept of setting up a traditional DSP is old hat. This is really the way to go for what I call those 90-95% rooms out there. Now, sure, these can be standalone Dante devices, which you can use, and they are fantastic with any third-party DSP. If you exceed the capability of our controller in large spaces, you're going to want to use that traditional DSP. And if you're doing really advanced mix-minus routing, say with our wireless mics, you'll use a traditional DSP for that too. But for every other space I see out there, all the sites visits I go on, 95% of the spaces, people are just simply selecting an ADECIA microphone, pairing it with our controller, and you are off to the races. So again, we're leveraging technology and automating the complex processes that you would normally do as an installer. And we're doing that by bringing technology in from many other divisions, as I mentioned. I didn't know this. I'm an old Cisco CCNA. Yamaha is the Cisco of routing and switching in Japan. They dominate that sector. Yamaha is the largest Ethernet infrastructure provider for SMBs over there. It really blew my mind. We make our own routers, switches, firewalls, the whole shebang. Now, when you buy a Yamaha 7.1 surround sound system from Yamaha, it comes with a microphone in the box that you put on your couch where you sit or your sitting position, and it's going to play pink noise and tonal sweeps out of all the speakers and tune for that location. And it's going to account for the reflectivity in that room. That's exactly what we're now doing in the conference space. So we're bringing a level of automation in here that just hasn't been there before. So with that previous slide in mind, here is what we call our distributed architecture. This is the system that really is the future moving forward. The heart of your system now is the switch. It powers everything. This is literally the only thing I've plugged into a 110 wall outlet for my system. Then we hang what we would traditionally be the DSP, our controller. It's called the RMCR controller. That is just hanging off the switch as all the other peripherals. Now we have our RMCG or ceiling grid mics, our RMTT tabletop mics, and our RMW 8-channel decked wireless microphone system to choose from. Now with the 2.0 upgrade, we can support with our 16-channel card in here up to 14 of these ceiling mics. That's a huge improvement. And if you look at the fact that these cover about a 25 by 25 foot area in a normal 8 to 10 foot installation, that's a lot of scalability, folks. That's a lot of area. You could do 14 of our table mics, and you can mix and match. Suppose you wanted to do 4 ceiling mics in your space and add in a dozen of our decked wireless mics. You can do that. And on our processor, we've got 2 XLR analog inputs, so you can bring any analog mics into the mix as well. Now, again, as I mentioned, the DSP work is now in the mics themselves, but we do have basic processing for these mic inputs on our controller. We have full feedback suppression and echo suppressors. The whole premise here is plug in a couple of belt pack Countryman head mics, 2 clip-on presenter mics, and these will route with 0 delay and feedback protection to the local in-room speakers. And these are our digital line array VXL speakers. We'll look at those last. So, and you can also include these mics onto your Teams and Zoom calls with your interfaces along with all your other digital microphones here. So as you can see, that's a lot of scalability, a lot of flexibility. And for 95% of the rooms out there, including combine and divide spaces, and we're going to cover that too, this is all you need. You select the microphones that are appropriate for your application, pair them up with our controller. If you don't want to use digital line array speakers of ours, you can use your own Dante speakers, and we have a provision for analog speakers in the room as well. In fact, Yamaha's a music company at heart. If you look at our logo, it's 3 tuning forks. I have a 10-inch powered sub connected to my analog output, and I'm literally bi-amped and running only high frequencies to my line arrays. So full equalization on all the interfaces, and we'll drill down onto this box here in a slide or two. But first, let's look at our switches, because this now is the heart of the system, right? Dante is pretty much a dumb layer 2 protocol that's pretty ubiquitous across all enterprise class switches. Please do go onto Audinate's website. They do have a list of non-approved switches that they know don't work well with their systems. But for the most part, Hewlett-Packard, Cisco, Dell, HP, Juniper, pretty much anyone out there, we're running our systems on customer networks and preferred switches alike from our integrators as well. That said, this is an amazing PoE Plus switch. All 8 ports can power 240 watts, 8 devices PoE Plus at any given time. And we have 2 non-powered combo ports so you can daisy chain to other switches. That's the beauty of Ethernet. You could have 4 mics on a table and have a little PoE Plus switch under there and run 1 wire back to your main switch. In fact, you could do a PoE switch. Let me talk about the power of the mics real quick. Really easy to remember. All of the microphones need 15 watts. The TT mic, the ceiling grid mic, and the wireless system only need 15 watts. Our processor and speaker need the true 30. So we provide this 30-watt switch whenever you're using our speakers. We do have a baby switch. If you're not using our speakers, get with us. We'll spec the one that works according to your application. But yeah, Dante's pretty much plug and play, folks, at this point in time. There's nothing to do on this switch but take it out of the box and plug it in. Now, here's really what I call the magic box. This is what makes all of this happen as a solution. Again, you can use our microphones, the ceiling, table, and wireless standalone, but when you pair them with this guy, you get the whole solution, and you get that intuitive GUI and the advanced programming that I'll show you when we do some jumping into the software. But real quick, there's 4 interfaces in here, more than enough to suffice for those rooms. You've got a Bluetooth interface. There's your pairing button. Let's look at the back panel. You have a SIP interface. This could go to your SIP switch if you want. We have a USB interface. This is where you're listening to me right now. My laptop's plugged in via USB to my controller. And we have traditional analog line in and out. We can connect to RoomKit, Cisco, traditional codecs. In education space, we'll do record lecture capture out for redistribution, program audio in. And then here's that analog audio output for your local room, so you can do digital or analog. But let's focus on the network side here real quick. What we did was very cool. This is where this switch gets its 30 watts of power from my, this controller gets its power from my switch. This is where it probes the network and finds the Dante mics and speakers and sets up all the Dante routes and does all the auto tuning. This is in essence your isolated AV network. Over here, we have a separate NIC with a 2-port switch on it. Yeah, again, you could do that to your SIP server, your SNMP server. I could have out-of-band corporate management. Maybe I want to put a static IP address to go to my Crestron controller. Again, a lot of flexibility. And the beauty here is When you're connecting your host network to this system, you're going to connect it here, not the switch. That way you're not putting any of that Dante traffic on that host network. So again, very slick what we can do here on the network side. Again, we covered this. This is where I'm plugged in. This is where my subwoofer's plugged in, or you would have maybe some fill speakers at the back of the room. And both of these will participate, the digital and analog speakers, in that pink noise auto tuning. Now, this gets kind of fun. I've had customers turn this into a digital I/O. You can very easily grab one of these AutoNate Dante adapters and turn our auxiliary analog input and output into a digital Dante in and out as well. So again, an extreme amount of flexibility with this system. So with that, let's take a quick look at that auto setup wizard and those few mouse clicks your technician has to do. So here's my box. Here's the home page, and this is what you would see the very first time you log in. Now, what I want to point out real quick is I'm plugged in to the USB port on the front of this device. And again, if I go back a slide here, I probably forgot to point that out. Right here on the front is a little trap door, and underneath there is the programming port with a fixed IP address of 172.16.0.1 out of the box. So that is where I am now connected. And first time you log in, this is the auto setup wizard that'll pop up. This is what you'll see. And anytime you log in thereafter, there it is. Now what this does is it finds all of your devices, sets up all your Dante routes, plays pink noise and auto tonal sweeps through the speakers, and sets up the entire system. This is all I did for the system I built here that I'm talking to you on today. Just a few mouse clicks. Now I did log into my mic and add 1 click of dereverberation, and I will show you that in a little bit, but check it out. You click next, it just found all of my devices. Right now I'm flashing the LED on my ceiling mic. This is huge when you're doing combine and divide in multiple rooms. You can flash the LED on any device, even your wireless WAP on the ceiling, and see, I don't have to write down MAC addresses. I know which devices I'm physically working with right now. Very cool. From here, it's going to look for wireless. Again, there's my wireless system. It found that. Here, it's going to ask me to pair my charger. I already did. Boom, there it is. I just saved as 20 seconds. Here's all the mics, my wireless mics sitting on my charger. It just found all of them, routed them. And then again, it will prompt you to check your firmware. Once you're all matching and up to date, you can proceed. Here, I'm going to flash the LED on my speaker. There's my stage right. And then literally, this is where you be quiet and shut the doors in the room, or leave and go get a cup of coffee and move on to the next room. You can select whether you want to have analog speakers included in this process or not. And when you click execute, it's going to play pink noise out of your line arrays, your ceiling speakers, your subwoofer, whatever you've got connected. It's going to take a minute. If you're digital, if you got both, it'll take about 2 minutes and you are done. That is all I did to build this system here today. And there it is. There's my processor. Here, we'll go through this a little bit. This is pretty simple. I used to train people on Clear One DSPs. Used to spend 2 8-hour days in a hotel training room. You can literally learn this controller in 5 minutes. There's your inputs all at the top. Each purple box is a module you can click on and do stuff. Here's your outputs at the bottom. Here are the 4 interfaces: USB, SIP, line in and out, and Bluetooth. Here's those analog mics on the front panel. Those don't auto-tune. You'd have to go in and set them up. It took me about 10 minutes to set up a lapel mic for a beautiful voice lift. And then here's my internal 16 channels. As you can see, I muted my table mic because I wanted to be on just my ceiling mic for this presentation. And then there's the rest of all my wireless mics sitting on the charger dock. From here, those are your inputs. It comes into the mixing bus. It doesn't get any easier than this. Here are your 4 interfaces, and you can bridge or isolate them very quickly. These are the default settings. So let's look at the USB, the call we're on right now. Maybe I want to mix those 2 analog mics in. Boom, they're in. Maybe I want to bring the Bluetooth call in. Boom, it's in. Maybe on my SIP calls, I don't ever want Bluetooth to be bridged. Done. And I want to use only 1 analog mic. Done. You don't get much easier to bridge and isolate than that. And then here is your local room output, both analog and digital speakers. And as you can see, I have all far end audio from all 4 of my interfaces routed to my local speakers. Let's take a look at what that auto tuning did here in my local room. And by the way, this is the audio going to you guys. We'll look at that next. Here is my building. This is what the pink noise and auto tuning did in my space. I got a little resonance going on at about 100 hertz, but otherwise not too bad. Every time you run the auto tuning, you will see a different graph and filtering for your room speakers based on that environment. This is the advanced processing that we're doing. Now, I'll show you in a little bit how we're doing the equalization on the microphones as well. But right now, we're just EQing the far end audio for playback out of these speakers. And by the way, here's a quick look. Here's the crossovers. If you want to take a look, these are built-in menus. I grabbed 18 dB slope, third order crossover, and my analog subwoofer is only getting 300 hertz and down. My line arrays, I did the inverse. I'm sending them about 200 hertz and up. Again, easy drop-down menu to select your crossover. And then this morning on my subwoofer, as I was relaxing before this webinar, I turned the bass up because I was playing a little rock and roll in here. So as you get the idea, beyond the auto tuning, any granular adjustments you want to make are just a couple of mouse clicks, things you would do in a traditional DSP. And then here's the far end audio coming out of this system to my 4 interfaces. And you'll see the auto tuning sets you at unity gain at a nominal 0, and you can adjust from there. Here's this call. If I wanted to, I could get quiet going out to you guys right now, or I could get loud in your ear. You get the idea. So that's our processor. That's a quick look at just how easy it is to set up the system and then do some adjustments beyond that initial auto tuning. So with that, let's move along. And we're a slide behind. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about the microphone, because it is advanced technology and it's very different from how other folks do it. So a quick review. We have 64 elements in a spiral pattern, a very tight spiral, not this graphic here. And when you look at a room down here, a 25 by 25 space, our competition has these 45-degree lobes, and you have to set 8 of them in a static fixed pattern around the room. Yeah, they can do these blue representation here, but again, it starts to look like a flower pickup pattern. Now with us, we'll generate 4 of these red, very focused 15 to 16 degree beams. And we'll generate multiple, up to 4, which is more than enough for conferencing. So you can have literally a person standing, 4 people, 1 in each corner, all start talking at the same time, and we'll put an active beam on all 4 of them. This is a huge advancement. There is no configuration of the mic footprint whatsoever. And for training rooms, reconfigurable spaces, you don't have to worry about, did I move my chair and table arrangements out of a pickup lobe? Do I need to go look at that and run a preset? In a typical 8 to 10 foot ceiling height, again, we'll cover a 25 by 25 area. This is what the mic looks like flushed in. It's a little bit smaller than a ceiling tile by about 1 inch. So if this was in a drop ceiling, you'd see about 3/4 of an inch of the tile around the outside edge. You cut a hole in the tile and mount it just like a speaker. Now what's cool about the microphone, the bracket you need to mount it in a drop ceiling or flush it into sheetrock is included in the box, 1 part number. Very cool when you're ordering, it's all in there. There's also 100mm bolt patterns, so you can do any projector VESA mounts and suspend the mic down very easily. And I'll show you my mic when I do the demo. I'm using the M6 threads in the corners, and I'm wire hanging mine. So again, you got a lot of options, but the bracket you need most of the time is included in the box. Now we'll take a quick look at this in the software, but this is the new 2.0 features within the CG mic. We've always had the ability to trim or limit the footprint of the mic, but now we can add up to 2 focus areas and 2 exclusion zones. Within that footprint, again, where soft speakers may be, or people may be turned a little bit away from the mic facing the screen, or maybe you've got a noisy corridor or door, we can look at that. Very cool new features. Now again, the tuning improvements in the mic. I'm going to show you the filters that we're now putting on the microphones, as well as the filters we were putting on the speakers. And Yamaha had this in the game plan all along. So again, this is a product that has a lot of ROI, and will continue to receive these free updates as we add new feature sets to the system. So with that, let's log into the mic and see what else I did beyond that auto tuning for the audio you're listening to right now. So we'll go back to the home page on my controller. From here, I'm going to select the peripheral page. Now here's kind of cool. If you don't want to use the auto wizard, you can actually build your system manually here. And then you can come to the auto tuning page and run that pink noise process from here. So you can piecemeal or individualize the processes that are within that auto setup wizard. But the reason I came to the peripheral page was not to add and remove devices, but to quickly jump into them. Now here's a very important distinction. When I click this view button and log into my ceiling mic, and again, I can identify which mic I'm looking at, real easy. I'm going to get a one-page quick access, which is going to let me do most of the things I need to do. So let's do it. Boom, I click that. But you'll notice I'm still piggybacking off that 172 USB address. The real IP address of that device is there, and we'll keep that in mind. We'll look at that in a second. Again, there's that IP address of the device. So from here, I can do some things that on the mic, and I will show you what I did, the one extra mouse click beyond the auto tuning. From here, you can set up your Dante IP settings, your IP addressing if you want. You can play with that 802, turn on the 802 authentication right here and set that up. You can drag and drop config files in here and export that very easily, and your certificates, if you're doing authentication, your certificates, you drag your config in elsewhere down here. But here's that DSP, and here's those settings on the microphone. Out of the box, the dereverberation is set to medium. I bumped mine up to high. So that's all I did, folks. I made a click here, hit submit, and that's all I've ever done for this system for the last 2 years that I've been using it. But now, here's some new features that are 2.0. We've always had the ability to orient yourself and limit any side of the microphone. I like the fact they've now added in that you can do feet. In fact, I've always said it's a 25 by 25 footprint. Well, it's actually a 26.2 by 26.2 footprint once I did the calculation in feet. But yeah, you orient yourself. Maybe you've got a cafeteria over here. You don't want beams to form. I can say, hey, no beams on that side or this side or both. So I can limit the footprint. Now, we've added exclusion and focus areas. Maybe I've got a lectern at the front of this training room, and I got a speaker up there at all times, and I want to put a focus area right around where they're going to be. I want beams to always be looking in here. And I can add up to 2 of these. And then maybe I've got a noise source at the back of the room over here, a printer. Actually, I had a customer with a printer that was fired off from another room in their conference room. And then maybe I want to add another one. I've got a noisy doorway over here that's open to a lobby, right? So now I'm going to guarantee that no beams are going to form in here. So very cool features. You can see very easy to set up within the footprint of that microphone. Here is where you can play with the mixing strategy within the mic. The default is 2-channel gain sharing, but if I wanted to, I could do, auto gating or have all mic beams on all the time, or 4-channel gain share. And here I can tweak the DSP settings at will. Now, you'll notice this is just one page of quick adjustments I can make. If I'm using this RMCG with a third-party DSP, I'm going to take this IP address by using, by the way, a device called RM Device Finder, which is right here. This is an app you can download. It will glean the IP address and firmware status of all the devices. If you're not using our controller, you're going to want to use this. And you can quickly jump into the web UI and update firmware from here as well. So keep in mind, RM Device Finder, very handy tool. But I know this IP address, so now I'm going to do what's called logging into the front door of the mic itself. Well, it's what I call it, at least. And here again, it'll prompt you to set up a password, if I could type correctly. And now you'll notice here I had one page of adjustment for that mic. Well, here I've got the whole shebang. I can now do full administration of this microphone. So let's take a look at what I'm trying to get to. Another look at that audio page. And again, it's going to mimic the settings I change on the other page. But here's what I wanted to show you. The new 2.0 tuning process has applied a high-pass filter on my ceiling mic at 103 hertz. This is that groundwork that the engineers normally have to do. This is that level of automation, and I'll show you. It's also filtering my table mic when we take a look at that. So I wanted to drill down a little bit and show you that. This is how you manage the mic when you're using it outside of the RMCR controller. Again, you can update the firmware. You can look at your Dante routes from here. anything you'd want to do. So we'll close that tab out. And by the way, they'll go green when you're passing audio. Very cool. So I'm going to close these tabs out and leave us back on the home page of our controller, and we'll come back to that. So now let's take a look at the table mics. These things are phenomenal, a real unsung hero in our lineup. We did some testing on the road with these the other day, and we were standing 12 feet away from these mics and really blowing some people away with the level of gain and clarity and pickup from these things. So this is not your old-fashioned boundary mic. There are 4 microphone elements within this microphone. There's an LED ring, which we can program and do stuff with, and there are 4 mute buttons. And it's a single Cat5 back to the switch, 15 watts of power, and a full DSP in here. So if you're using it standalone, just send this mic an echo reference, and we'll give you a fully processed, echo canceled, de-reverberized, noise suppressed signal out. And you can also subscribe to channel 2 and get a low latency non-processed out at the same time. Extremely cool. And it is also an auto discovery member of the ADECIA solution when you pair it with our controller. Out of the box, we use that human voice activity detection to find a human being and put a beam on them. Really slick. That's the default behavior, and that's the behavior I leave mine in most of the time. I'm kind of lazy. My mic moves around the table. Anywhere I'm standing around that table, it's going to find me and put a beam on me. Here's another visual representation. If I'm sitting at this boardroom table right here, it's going to listen to me in this fashion by default. Now, our controller is going to select this beam only. You know, if you're using these mics with your DSP, you may sum these. It depends on your strategy. But with our controller, same with the ceiling mic. If I'm standing between 2 ceiling mics and there's a beam for mic A and B on me, it might select mic B because that's the strongest beam. That's the advanced routing, and that gets cleaner and tighter when you use our controller with our mics. But suppose you just want an Omni mic. One click of the mouse and the 4 elements combine to give you a classic half sphere pickup pattern. We also have toroid mode in case you've got a noise source right over the table. Often happens, you may have a fan or a projector. And then we obviously have directional audio. The preferred audio for conferencing is directional, and we can do hyper, super, and standard cardioid patterns. Now, here's where it gets fun. Just like the ceiling mic, there's a mounting bracket included in the box. Once you mount the mic and orient yourself, now you can aim beams wherever you want. You can do in quick mode, a single beam, or down the center of a table. You can do a bidirectional mode, but we can do tri-directional and quad as well. In a training room, you might put 4 beams in a fan pattern firing off of that front wall. So when the presenter turns their back, he or she, to the room, now you've got directional audio from the front wall and a master mute button for that whole training room. So we see integrators pepper these into designs with the ceiling mics. They are just phenomenal microphones. Priced well too. It's $655 MSRP. Blew me away what you can do with that mic. So with that, let's take a quick look at it. So here again, come to my peripheral page. I'm going to do a quick jump into the mic from my controller, and voila, I'm going to come down. And again, very similar to ceiling mic. You can adjust the LED, your network, the same parameters. Here I am in auto tracking mode. But once I mount the mic, maybe I want to select a cardioid. Let's set up a huddle room. Maybe the display's over here, the table. I want to cover 3 ends of the table. I'm going to point beam 1 at table west. Beam 2, I'm going to point north. Beam 3, I'm going to aim that at table south. Beam 4, I don't need in this scenario, so I could use it or I'll just turn it off. And now I hit submit and boom. Now I have a microphone with 3 cardioid patterns covering the end of that table. Maybe I want to tighten these up. I can select hypercardioid. Now I'm going to turn my camera on for a second, and I'm going to hold my mic up to the camera, and you'll see that we can show where those rings are pointing within that LED band. So when you're setting up, you can see where you aimed those beams. And then check it out. I'm going to turn that function off, and this is what I would give my end user. I'm going to uncheck indicate where they're pointing, and boom, they just get a beautiful solid green ring. So with that, I want to show you real quick the front door of the mic, because again, I can't view that advanced filter the system put on from here. And let me put this back for my next demo later today into auto tracking, done. So now I'm going to get the IP address of the mic, one way or t'other, and I'm going to log directly into that mic. Again, it's going to prompt you to set up a password, which I've done. Now I have full control of this tabletop mic. Again, like I might be using it with a third-party DSP. And boom, the auto-tuning process decided that it would put a 12 dB low shelf doing a 10 dB cut at 100 hertz to make my table mic sound optimum for conferencing in my space. So that's showing you what this automation is doing and showing you how to get in here and do really advanced stuff that you would do with a traditional DSP if you wanted to. And again, there's your output. Do I want linear processing on both? Either or? Again, folks, the most intuitive GUI you could ever imagine. It doesn't get much more simple than that. So let me close these out. We're done looking at the TT. I'll go back to my home page here and jump back into our PowerPoint, and we'll take a look at the RMW system. I love wireless decked mic systems. I spent 6 years working pretty much exclusively with these types of systems, and they really feature in any room where there just can't be any wires. You cannot get better audio than putting one of these mics 1 foot from somebody's mouth. Inverse square law, right? So here's your basic components of this wireless system. We've got 4 mic styles right now, a 6-inch and 12-inch gooseneck, which we call GS, gooseneck short, GL, gooseneck long. We have OM for Omni right here, which is our Omni mic with single element with 4 mute buttons. These are all single element mics. And there's our directional with a directionalized pickup grill and 1 mute button. Here's our smart charger. You can have up to, I believe, more than 2, but at least 2 chargers per WAP, and we'll look at that in the software. So you could do a combine and divide and split this into an A and B room and have a charger in each half. You only need 1 Cat5 wire from your network to add this system to your audio system. It's 1 Cat5 to the wireless antenna. This charger talks wirelessly to the antenna, as do the mics. You got a little local power supply here. Find anywhere where there's a wall outlet in the room, and this can go on the credenza or anywhere in the space. Now, when you put all the mics on the charger, 1 button push, and then all pair is 1. And we'll take a look at that GUI. Really amazing. We could spend an hour just on this system, but we'll look at one slide and then have a poke around in the software. Here's some highlights. It is decked. We won't drill down on why, but trust me, folks, decked is the transmission method preferred for conferencing microphones. 1.91 to 1.92 in the US. We are fully encrypted, and again, we've bumped up our security with 802.1x support. There's our mic styles. Now, on the batteries, this was always the rub on wireless mics, your talk time, right? We're guaranteeing 20 hours of talk time. I'm getting closer to 30 at least in my testing here in my space. Ample talk time and charge time out of these batteries. What's really cool is every one of these mics has a USB-C charge port on it as well. Huge feature we added in here. So now you can talk away for 20, 30 hours, run the battery down, and then simply plug the mic into your Apple Cube, your PC USB port, and the mic will stay fully functional and active while it charges locally at the table. So again, a huge advancement with these. And we'll talk more about the capacity and the synchronization of this system as well. But yeah, here we go. There's the slide. So again, we've added up to 14 mic support with the ceiling mics. And again, we can do 16, all 16, 2 8-channel systems with our RMCR controller. Only 14 ceiling mics, only 14 table mics, but all 16 wireless mics can be supported with the ADECIA solution. But if you want to use the mic standalone in a big installation with a third-party DSP, you can do 64 mics in one room. And campus-wide, we can synchronize 20 systems over one Ethernet subnet network. Now, here's another huge advancement. Back in the day with decked wireless systems, you used to have to run a wire from room to room so the deck clock could synchronize from room to room. Well, now that deck clock with these 6.0 chips in our system, we use the Dante master clock of the network too. So again, leveraging Dante to be the master clock for not just the audio streams, but for the decked wireless channel spread spectrum system as well. Very, very cool. A quick look, yes, at systems that are utilizing the new AES67 that we turned on. Again, we can set up the 802.1x. So let's log into the wireless and have a peek at what we just kind of talked about. So again, back to that peripheral page to jump into the WAP directly. And here we go. And there's my WAP. And again, you can administer just about everything you want to from this front page for the most part. So as we go down from the top, you can set your IP settings. You can set your power levels in DECT. Here's where you would set the synchronization for multiple groups. And you can create islands and have synchronization groups. Here's where you can do bulk pairing and unpair your charger. And again, you can have multiple chargers. Here's a quick look at your mics. If I'm going to take my directional off the charger, and we'll see it'll link up, and you'll see it'll get signal, and it should show your battery status. And boom, my mic is now active. Should take a second here for it to update and show up on the GUI. I can actually unmute it. There we are. So this mic is off, and we click on the mic itself and click view. We can do some things in here just like the other mics. We can fully tweak these mics. Now, real quick, if you only have wireless mics, the 2.0 firmware is not going to tweak these mics. These are more traditional. You would come in here and hand tune these microphones yourselves. Now, again, what's cool? Maybe I want this mic to be in low latency and bypass the internal DSP. You can see it turned off that DSP section. So you can mix and match. A big distinction here, the table mics and ceiling mics can do both at the same time. The wireless cannot. We're not going to give you 16 channels out, 8 processed, 8 non-processed, but you can mix and match. You can have some mics in low latency and some mics not. So there is that. That's very cool. Now, again, if you want to log in and have more control, well, by the way, check this out. The Dante routing, maybe in the old days, I had to go into Dante Controller if I wanted to move channel 6 to channel 7. Now, I can literally drag and drop it, and I just moved these two. And if you opened up Dante Controller, you would have seen those changes happen live. Very, very cool stuff. So let's jump in the front door and look at how you would set this mic up standalone. Same process, right? Glean that IP address and log in directly into the system. Here, again, same process, going to prompt you for a password. And now you can see the entire web UI for the wireless microphone system. A whole lot more information in here. Let's take a look at that auto setup wizard. I'm going to go ahead and put the wireless mic back on. By the way, don't ever click this button if you're using the system because it turns the audio off. I did that in a demo once. But yeah, here's how you set up the wireless mics. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to run a scan of the environment. It's right now doing a live scan of my room. Here it is. You can see the time tags ticking along here, and it gives you a heat map of all the DECT channels. I can see that right now I could put it in high density. I could do 80 microphones because there's no other DECT, and I wouldn't expect it, folks. I'm out in the woods here in Austin, Texas. From here, you can set up your administrative stuff, the name of the unit, your time settings. Here you could pair chargers. You'll see I've got one charge already paired. And it's now looking to pair a second charger. And here you can see the status of my mics on that charger. Here you would update the firmware if you needed to. Here's where it'll prompt you and walk you through pairing the mics by pushing the button on the charger base. Here you could again play with that Dante routing. This would be more pertinent if you're doing it with a third-party Dante DSP. Very easy to come in here and just change what channel it's routing to. And then boom, gives you a summary of where you are and ready to go. So very simple to administer this wireless system. Don't be intimidated. These are phenomenal wireless mic systems when you use them standalone, and very easy to set up within the RMCR with our auto tuning process as well. So with that, a couple of the last features with 2.0, and then we'll do a quick demo. I think we're doing about 10 minutes left for Q&A. I need to speed this up a little bit. So here's an example of using the mic in 2 modes. We've got it connected to our controller, and we're doing a Teams and Zoom call here. But we're also subscribed with a Dante amp and speakers to do overflow audio into this bigger area. Here's the combine and divide. This I do want to show you in the software. It does not get any easier than this. You're going to do the auto tuning for room A, the red room. You're going to do the auto tuning for room B. Then you're going to open it. You're going to log into this box. You're going to add these mics and speakers in. You're going to run the auto tuning here. And those are going to be 3 snapshots. This is huge, building it in the software. Much easier than doing it in your control system. And I'll show you that next. And you can pick any mic and set that as a high-weighted priority mic. So last time in the software, let's take a quick look at that. For me, this was the real fun part of 2.0. So here we go to Tools, Preset, and we've got 10 we can build. Well, let's build one. Let's take a snapshot of how the system is. Right now, I have the TT mic muted. So we'll call this one CG only. So I'm going to create this one. I'm going to call it CG only. It's an internal command, so save it to this device. Boom, done. I've just taken a snapshot. Now, I could have made wholesale changes. I could have made a mic pickup pattern change the volume on something, put an equalizer change on a speaker, anything. And I can save it and submit it. Now, there it is. So I can now recall this preset, boom, and it's going to put this system into the state it is in right now. Now, let's go unmute that mic. And again, we're just doing a very basic demo here. We could do very advanced changes. Going to unmute the mic. Now we'll do a preset for all mics. Going to do settings. We'll call all on. And that don't get much easier than this, folks. One of my integrators said, Tim, you saved me 15 grand in control. I love it. So hit submit. Now, I'm going to recall that if I want, and it's going to unmute that TT mic. Done. Let's double check that. Oop, click OK. Come up here. And now we got all mics on. Now, but wait, there's more. Here, I've been playing with this software called Packet Sender. This is free. All I had to do was put in the IP address of my controller, the port, know the command string for executing snapshot number 1. There's preset 1. Let me clear my log, and I'll trigger that preset. Boom. And you can see the response from my device, .199. And now we'll log in, and you'll see I've executed that preset from a third-party control system. Voila. Boom. So that's a quick example of how quickly you can do. Oh, and real quick, the mic priority is in here in our mixer. You can choose how all the mics coming in are mixed. You can do gain sharing, auto gating. This is kind of the old-fashioned way right here. You'd have to set up your parameters. But again, we give you that control. You can do full auto gating, set your threshold, your hold time, all of it. I prefer the default 2-channel gain sharing, and maybe mic 2 or mic 4. I want to make a priority mic and give it extra weight because that's the one the instructor is going to use. So boom, let me jump out of here. The last thing I want to show you before we do the demo is the speakers. These are true line arrays, 16.5-inch drivers. 2 reasons for using line arrays for conferencing. 1, they're 170-degree horizontal dispersion pattern and only 25 vertical. 2, very even sound pressure across the room. I'm actually sitting 5 feet from one and I'm not going deaf. It's like I'm up against the display in a little room, but I can be 40 feet away and it's only 9 dB quieter. In fact, on the road the other day, I had an integrator do a bunch of tests. We only had 8 dB drop within this entire space. So I've stopped sharing. I'm going to change cameras and I'm going to show you this ceiling mic that I'm talking to you guys on. So here I am in this space and I wanted to do a quick demo. I've got videos of really in-depth demos I do in here, but this is the mic that's tracking me around this space right now. I'm in a 1,500 square foot building. This is 30 by 50. You can see about a 25 by 30 in here. The line array speakers are on either side of that 14 by 14 door, 16-foot walls, and that active beam's tracking me. Here's an example of the gain control. I'm now at the edge of that footprint. I'm about 13 feet away. We've all had an experience where somebody mumbles at the end of the table. They talk very softly, spin around in the chair, look at the floor. In fact, I'm whispering 13 feet away. As I bring my voice back up, the automatic gain control is going to compensate for that. Now, some of the videos on YouTube, I actually walk outside that door, get 20 feet away outside, and start whispering. So with that, I want to cut this short so we can get to the Q&A. And let me change cameras back. And let's pull up the questions and see what we've got. So I understand that each tile only use one Dante channel. What can I do to be able to grad each mic element of the tile? So I think we kind of answered that. Yeah, you can manipulate the beams within the tile, have a gain sharing mix or auto gating, or have a single beam. And again, with the focus areas, you can really direct where you want those to go. Question 2, what does ADECIA stand for? It is pronounced ADECIA, and I believe it is Spanish to mean to say or to speak. So it's Spanish for to speak or to say. Whoa, these are going by. What do most customers purchase the whole solution? Yes, they do actually. I would say that the CR controller goes with most of our microphone purchases. Once you get your head around the fact that you no longer need a DSP and that your technicians can set these rooms up, there's no point in not doing it that way. What video manufacturers and content sharing companies does Yamaha partner with? Great question. So this system on the USB interface, you can plug into a Barco ClickShare and do the whole thing over the ClickShare. We're partnered with them. We're partnered with Aver Cameras and One Beyond. We can output our beam angle information for them to do their camera presets on. I think we're working on a partnership with another camera company as well. So we have a number of partnerships, but we can plug into immersive smart boards or pretty much anything. I wouldn't say everything because I haven't tested, but pretty much everything we plug our USB into, it works very nicely with. It's native driverless USB, so it's plug and play. Does camera tracking pair with the ADECIA mic? Yeah, so in our API, there's a command where you can output our beam angle information to camera systems, and we do have some partners, as I just mentioned. Will you be showing this at InfoComm? You bet. We're going to have some very cool demonstrations of this product to show at InfoComm. Please come see us. Does it filter out HVAC? Change cameras? You guys might have heard my air conditioner kicking on and off during this presentation. There's the mic. I have a 10-ton air handler that was really distracting me in here. It was blasting on and off. You guys probably never heard it kick on. And there's the whole system in my rack. Again, the only thing plugged into the 110 outlet is that switch. UI for far end users to adjust gain, divisible space, modular, wants to adjust on the fly. So yeah, just get a control system, mirror connect. There's a lot of options out there beyond the traditional control companies. And we can do all those changes within the config, and you just call up that one preset. Very, very slick. I arrived late. Why is the multi-mic demoed specifically Dante? Because I used to talk about 10 years ago about eventually all AV is going to run over IP. I'm an IT engineer at heart. And here we are. It makes sense. You can leverage existing Cat5e infrastructure. You don't want to do wire strippers and have analog with their ingress and egress issues. Digital, folks, is the way to go. We were talking, we're trying to route to an AES67 signal through RMCR to go out through the analog output. When we enabled Dante, we were able to get the audio feed from AES67, but it also included the RMCG mic feed as well. We could not figure out how to separate the mic feed from the AES67 feed. Is there any way to mix Dante channels on and off in the CR? So yes, I don't know exactly what you're trying to do, but yes, if you looked when I was in that mixing bus, one of the options is Dante. You can't do all you would want to do as far as ins and outs with the traditional DSP, because again, we don't have any processing in the controller per se. Equalization and a lot of other stuff, yeah, but not that echo cancellation work. So please get with us. We have field engineers for every territory. Whoever anonymous attendee is, please reach out to us directly. We'll be happy to work with you on that. Can you readily change the direction of the TT depending upon the day? Absolutely. You can schedule that preset be called up and have that mic change any parameter within that TT microphone you like. With the smaller switch option mentioned earlier, can they be connected to different speakers, non-Dante, so as long as the wattage is compatible? Yeah, so the small switch is a 5-port switch and will only do 2E plus devices. So if you put our controller on there, you're down to only one other PoE plus, and the rest of the ports can only do 15 watts. So yeah, it depends what you're doing. If you just want a Dante stream, sure, 15 watts PoE out. But if you're doing a powered speaker, check for the power requirements on that powered speaker. Is there still wired versions of the wireless mic models? If we only need one mic near the switch, are there still wired versions of wireless mic models if we say only need one mic near the switch? We do have some of the old legacy mic systems, the 1 and 2 channel, not much anymore. It's pretty much going digital. I might have failed to mention that we will have new mic styles for the wireless. They haven't told us whether it's a clip-on or a handheld wearable, but come to InfoComm, we might have something to show you in that arena as well. Where can we get some tutorial of voice lift with the MRX7D? From Yamaha Pro. We only handle that device through our YEI1. I don't even know if that's a viable option anymore. The MRX7D is a phenomenal DSP. Reach out to us. We can put you in touch with our counterparts at Yamaha Pro for training on that. May I ask what is the native sound quality of your current space is? It's not too bad. Again, I've got a big metal door that does reflect, but it's a large space. I don't have a lot of reflective surfaces other than this floor. And with these line array speakers, they're not projecting any audio below the speaker. It really is amazing when you duck down below. I did, as I mentioned before, log into my mic and put 1 click of active dereverberation. So yeah, this is actually not a bad space for demoing my mic. Can you integrate soundbar solutions with auxiliary mics? Great question. We don't have time to go over all the products, but we have a phenomenal enterprise soundbar called the ESB 1090. We use it with the ADECIA controller a lot, and it's got subwoofers in it. It's a very viable option to the line array speakers. And we use it with some other packages as well. So yeah, check that guy out. I actually use that for my home soundbar in my house, in my living room. Touch base on the 2x2 installation again on a tile ceiling, and it needs to cut a ring. Yeah, so Clear One owns the patent on a ceiling mic tile replacement form factor. That's why they sued Shure. We didn't want to infringe on that patent. So we mount our ceiling mic like a speaker. You retain the tile. That's how we respected Clear One's patent. But the kit you need to do so is in there. So when you look at our microphone, it's a wee bit smaller than a 2x2, and we do have to retain the tile for that reason. Is your switch 10G on all ports? Yes, it is. Only 2 of the ports. If you look at the switch in my rack, oops, wrong button. The 2 ports on the end, the one with the blue wire, are non-powered. That's where my computer's plugged in. But you get 8 times 30, 240 watts out of that switch. Are you able to have a Cisco endpoint touch panel control the audio level as well as the feedback of your Yamaha? Yeah, so again, we play nice with any third-party control. They're just basic ASCII strings. In fact, go check out Yamaha's Provisionaire. They now have some more stuff related to ADECIA in there as well, especially on the design side. But again, I'm using a free app just to target those commands to my system. Maximum coverage of the RMCG, about 25 foot, or as we learned, 26.2 feet by 26.2 foot in a normal 8 to 10 foot ceiling. Now, we've had many people install them much higher, 12, 11, 13. I've even seen them at 14 feet. Keep in mind, the higher you go with the mic, you will shrink that footprint. Can the mic be mounted on a 4x4 or 4x2 tile? Yes, you can mount it in either of those. So yeah, thanks, folks. We're right on time, maybe a minute behind. We got through all the questions. Is there any other live questions before we say goodbye? Well, thank you very much for your time. Please reach out to us. Go to our page at uc.yamaha.com. And again, we love interfacing with you folks. Please reach out if you've got any questions at all. Thank you guys very, very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. Amazing job. And thank you all so much for joining us today. You'll hear from us in a follow-up with the recording. So please let us know if you have any more questions. For any of those attending InfoComm in Orlando next month, by the way, come swing by our booth with any more questions you may have after this. We're booth 4773, and you can use the VIP code YAM111 to register online. You can find more information about these webinars and products on our social pages and on our website, uc.yamaha.com. Thank you all so much. Have an amazing rest of your Wednesday. Great job, Tim, and have an awesome night.
See everybody at InfoComm, hopefully. Have a great day, everybody.